Hello everyone, my name is Quanah Yazzie. My deshkijin nishlin nashteja the nabashchin anti dashichedo the Bethlehem dashinella. I'm the professional writing tutor here at the Diné College Learning Center under the Tsaile main campus. So today I'm actually going to show you guys how to format an MLA as recognized by the Modern Language Association. So everything I do cover in this video will actually be coming from the current 8th edition of the official MLA manual, which you can also find on the Modern Language Association website. Just some objectives for today, I'm actually going to show you guys, and you'll be able to understand the importance of utilizing MLA within your essays and your writing assignments. And you'll also be able to generally format your essays while utilizing MLA guidelines. So with that, let's just jump right into this video.
So alright, to begin, let me just start by asking you, what is MLA? You may be wondering at this very moment what it stands for, but we tend to hear it within our daily lives of going to school, right? So what is MLA? MLA actually stands for Modern Language Association. The Modern Language Association was founded in 1883 by a group of scholars that focused primarily on the study and teaching of languages and literature. So in which they developed specific formatting and stylistics that we know as MLA styling and formatting. So currently in the year 2020, MLA formatting and citations are in its 8th edition. So beginning back in 1977, with the first edition. So there's actually a 43-year span between them. The current 8th edition was last published in 2016, so it has been 4 years since then. So what do we use MLA style for? MLA is most commonly used to cite sources within language arts, cultural studies, and other humanities disciplines. So here at Diné College, MLA is most commonly used within our English courses, as well as humanities, Navajo language and studies, and history courses. Another purpose of MLA style is the usage of citations within MLA guidelines. So MLA actually uses a set of specific guidelines that allow a reader or an audience to quickly and effortlessly find sources that are used within an essay. This allows the reader to read more into a source you cited in your essay, maybe for their own research or simply that they're just interested in learning more. So if you want to learn more about in-text citations and the Works Cited page, simply visit our YouTube channel for more videos to check out. So moving on, let's just go ahead and jump into formatting in MLA style. So getting started, when we first open our Microsoft Word document, we're going to take a look at how Microsoft Word opens a new document in terms of its presets. So sometimes it's not exactly set for us to automatically use, but we sort of tend to begin working on our document regardless of how it's set up for us. So looking at this document here, you'll notice that there are some things that are preset for us in terms of the margin, the font size, and so forth. So here we see that there is a Calibri font, which is not a font style we use in MLA formatting and styling. And you'll also see that this document here is giving us a 1/2 inch margin on all sides of the page, which is not what we want if we're going to stylize our essay in MLA. So MLA actually requires that a page should have 1 inch margins from all sides of the page. So let's just take a look at how to change some of those presets before we even begin working on our essay. So to change the margin, we can simply navigate to the Layout tab here at the top in the ribbon. And just going into this Layout tab, we can double check our margins and just have it set at 1 inch. So usually this is done by clicking the Layout, going to Margin, and then selecting the normal portion here. When you select this, it should automatically change your document to have that 1 inch margin from all sides. So you'll see here from the left, from the right, from the top, and usually from the bottom, should all have 1 inch margins. So moving on, we're going to check to see if our font is set to Times New Roman, which is required by MLA, and should have a 12-point font size. And then lastly, the line spacing throughout the document should be set to 2.0, which means that each line has double spacing. So these are all MLA guidelines that we would need to make sure it's set. So to make sure the entire document is set to these specifics, we can simply modify the style of your document just at the top here in this styles bar here. We can right click on this first style, which is normal, and then we can modify it. So just select modify. This should open up a new window, which is modify styles. And this is where we can manipulate the settings. And you can change this if you want to maybe MLA styling. So the next time you open it, that style should be saved up there at the top, which you can just automatically click to change all the stylistics. So here, we're going to change the font to Times New Roman. Then we're going to change the font size to 12 point. And then after this, one thing to double check within this window is the details portion down here. So here it's showing us that there is extra spacing after each paragraph. This is not what we want as well. Looking here, when I increase the spacing, which is one of these buttons up here, when I increase spacing, the text is actually shifting downward at every paragraph. What this means is that there's space before the paragraph right here. We don't want that to happen throughout our document. So let's just make sure that is actually set to 0 and there's no spacing before and after. So if we just keep decreasing and decreasing, it should automatically remove itself. This is just so that our document has an evenly double spacing throughout the whole entire document. So once we've done that, we can just click OK. And then just to make sure that our document is using our new settings, let's make sure to click on the style that we just modified. So here it'll say, here it says MLA style, which is what we just modified. The only reason why, because sometimes it will show that we still have that Calibri font, which we are seeing here. So let's just click on the style we just modified and it should automatically adjust to all of those stylistics. So I'm gonna just click here and there it automatically adjusted. So we have our 1-inch margin, our font set to Times New Roman, we have a 12-point font size, and the document is double spaced throughout. To double check the double spacing, we can just simply go into this paragraph bar here, hit this little icon, line in paragraph spacing, and just make sure it is set to 2.0. If that's selected, then we don't have to worry about the spacing. So those are the 4 settings that we should always check before we even begin working on our document in MLA format. So moving on, we're going to work from top to bottom here. So when we begin, we're going to add a page number at the top right corner. To do that, we can double click at the top to access the header here, or we can simply close this out and then we can simply just insert a page number from the insert tab itself. So we can hit insert page number here, top of the page, and so forth. But for this example, I'll just click out. We'll just double click the header and then we'll add our page number. So for our page number, we want to have it at the top of the page and should be aligned to the right. So here I'll just click this and we have our page number. But we're just not done just yet. So right before the page number, we're actually going to type our last name. So here I'll just type my last name, Yazzie, with the space. This is also a requirement of MLA formatting. So now we have our page number with our last name. And then if we just close out of it, let's go insert a blank page just to see if our page number is actually increasing with the page number itself. So when I add a page number, it should be Yazzie 2. If I add another, it should be Yazzie 3, and so forth. So right now our page number is working so far. So after we have our page number, we're going to start on the first line outside of the header. Here we're going to add our name. So I'll just use my name again, Quanah Yazzie. The next line should be our instructor. I'll use Dr. Brian G. The next line is our course information. Let's say English 101, section 34. So here at Diné College, all our courses are associated with the course number and section number. So this is a way that you can format this area right here. And then the next line after the course information, we're going to add the date. With MLA, it is required to have the date in a date, month, year format. So I'll use today's date. So today's the 4th of August in 2020. When typing this portion as well, just make sure you have no spacing or special characters between the areas of the date, month, and year. Sometimes we tend to add a comma or some kind of special character between those areas. So just make sure that those spaces are just separated by just a space itself. That's it. And the next line is pretty optional. I like to use this area to add assignment details. So let's say this was maybe an illustration essay. And then what I like to do in parentheses is add the version of this essay. So let's say this was a second draft. Then we can just close the paragraph, or the parentheses, sorry. Let's just do this final actually. So final, close the parentheses, and that's the area that is totally optional, but this just tends to, helps you keep track of your versions of your essays and things like that. All right, so perfect. So looking here, we're now complete with our introductory portion, including our name, instructor, course information, date, and an optional portion, the assignment detail. So moving on, we're actually getting into our actual work. So on the next line here, this is where you should put the title of your paper. So let me just let's see, benefits of exercising on the body. Let's just use that. All right, so within your title portion, your title should always be center aligned. So here I'm highlighting it and we're going to bring it to the center. And then just some things about the title. Under MLA guidelines, we're also not allowed to use any stylistics in terms of bolding, underlining, and italics. It is acceptable to use italics if we are including a book title or magazine title or any published pieces of work within our title itself. But otherwise, we should keep it the way it is. And the only thing is to make sure that it is in title case. So don't use any all caps or all lower cases and things like that. So now that we got our title, we can then move on to our body of work. We're just going to go on to the next line. And we're going to go back to left align. Then on this line, I'm actually going to pause the video for a bit and insert a 5-paragraph essay that I can find online. So now we have our body of work. Our only focus within this area, the body of the work, is making sure our paragraphs are indented. So to do this, we can simply use the tab key on the keyboard, or we can simply use 5 spaces using the spacebar on the keyboard. So both of these methods are recognized in the MLA manual. So let's just go ahead and indent all of our paragraphs here. So I'll just use the tab key for all the paragraphs. All right, and that is it for our body of work. So at this point, we're almost complete with formatting our essay in MLA. The last thing we actually need to focus on is the Works Cited page. The Works Cited page is only required if you'll be citing sources you found on the internet, maybe at a library, or anything that is published, basically. Citing resources is usually included if you're claiming an argument or maybe doing a research paper, an analysis, or review of some sort. So if you'll be adding a Works Cited page, let's just make sure that it starts on a new page. So at the end of your conclusion, we can simply do that by inserting a page break or a blank page within the Insert tab at the top. So let's just do that. And then just one thing to note too, even if your conclusion may be running into a new page, just remember to always move that Works Cited page to a new page. So here we'll just insert a new page. So insert, you can do blank page for now. Then on this new fresh page, we're going to add a title for the Works Cited page. So we're just going to center align again. We're going to call this the Works Cited. The title should be centered aligned as well, entitled Works Cited. The same rules apply in all our titles. They should have no bold text, no underlined text, and no italics. So there may be some confusion sometimes as to why we call it a Works Cited page rather than maybe a reference or bibliography. So the thing is, MLA actually recognizes its sources page as a Works Cited. APA recognizes theirs as references, Chicago style as bibliography, and so forth. So each style of writing actually has its own way of introducing its sources. So once we have the title, we can add our sources on the first line after the title. So I'm going to hit enter again and then go back to left align. And then I'm going to pause again to get some sources from online for this example. All right, now that we have our sources here, which I have 4, beginning with Dean, Ebert, Gowdy, and Harris, the main focus on the Works Cited page is that we have a hanging indent. What this means is that we should have all the text after the first paragraph, everything after the first paragraph should be indented to the right. Just to show you what I mean, let's just take a look at the top here. So before I begin, I'm going to highlight my sources. And then I'm going to go to the ruler at the top here. Looking at this little tool here, we're going to shift the bottom triangular shape to the right 1/2 inch. What this does is after the first line of text in each paragraph, everything after that line, it's automatically shifted to the right 1/2 inch. So you'll see that here. And that's what we call a hanging indent. And there are actually several ways to do this. That was one. Another way is to, let me go back here. Another way is to highlight your sources, open up the paragraph settings, which you can find in the paragraph bar up the top. So we'll just open that. Within this window here, you're going to go into indentation, and you'll see something called special. Within that special, let's just open up the drop-down menu, and we're just going to select hanging. And then let's just make sure that it is 1/2 inch with the hanging indent. Then with that, we'll just hit OK. So this generates the same thing as what I showed before. So there are two ways to do a hanging indent. We can use the tool in the ruler or open up the paragraph settings. So this technique allows a reader to quickly find the sources you cited in your essay and vice versa from the Works Cited page back to your essay. And then just to make it even more easier, we want to make sure our sources are sorted in alphabetical order by last name. So we have Dean, Ebert, Gowdy, and Harris. So once we've done that, we're basically complete with the Works Cited page. If you want to learn more about how to properly cite your sources, it can actually be found in an additional video on our YouTube channel. That video details in-text citations and its relationship with sources that are listed here in the back in your Works Cited page. And that video actually details how to properly cite these sources here. So with that, this video is actually coming to an end. We have successfully formatted an essay in MLA style. So just a really quick review. Just remember, we want to make sure we have 1-inch margins on all sides of the paper on each page. Our font is Times New Roman with the 12-point font size. Our document is completely double spaced with no additional spacing before and after our paragraphs. And then we have our page number along with our last name, which should increase along with the page number itself, Yazzie 2, Yazzie 3, like I said. And then on the top left corner, we have our name, the instructor's name, the course information, the date, the optional portion, which is assignment details. Under that area, we have our title, which is centered with no stylistics. Our body of work with paragraphs indented 5 spaces or by using the tab key on your keyboard. And then lastly, our Works Cited page, which begins on a new page with our sources in alphabetical order by last name. And finally, our sources should have a hanging indent. So if for any reason your instructor or professor may be giving you a different way to format an MLA, it is important to follow their instructions. This applies to all type of writing and should be the first option when beginning to work with different styles of writing. So just keep that in mind as well. So with that, thank you everyone for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content in the coming weeks. We have a lot of content within writing and math courses as well. So just thank you everyone for watching again. So thank you and stay safe.